My name is Sophie Walker, and I'm 29 years old. 3 days ago, at my brother Thomas's Series A launch event, my father pointed directly at me in front of 200 investors and said with a laugh, "This is our family's cautionary tale. The girl who dropped out of Stanford to wipe her mother's ass while her brother built an empire." The whole room burst into laughter. Thomas laughed the loudest. I stood there holding cheap wine, wearing the same dress I wore to my mother's funeral, face burning with shame. What they didn't know, the revolutionary algorithm Thomas was selling for millions was written entirely by me. And in the next 3 minutes, my father's cautionary tale would become the biggest humiliation of his life. The event was in a converted warehouse in San Francisco. Thomas stood on stage with his co-founder Peter Vance, gesturing at growth charts. Behind them scrolled my code. I stayed near the back corner, trying to be invisible. Then my father cut through the crowd toward me, a woman in a sharp grey suit beside him. "Sophie," David Walker's voice carried. "This is Julia Hart, managing partner at Apex Ventures." He introduced Thomas and Peter with beaming pride. Then his hand landed on my shoulder. "And this is our daughter, Sophie. She's our cautionary tale. Brilliant at Stanford, top of her CS classes, but dropped out senior year. Family obligations." He laughed. "Sometimes potential isn't enough without discipline." Julia didn't follow him. She extended her hand to me. "What year were you at Stanford?" 2015, 2019? Computer science, machine learning focus?" "Did you keep coding after?" I hesitated. "Personal projects?" "What kind?" "Predictive algorithms for venture capital patents. Startup success indicators." Her eyes narrowed. "I've been looking for someone with exactly that background." Thomas tried to interrupt. She ignored him. "Tomorrow, my office. Alone. It's about the algorithm Thomas is pitching. The one you built." She walked away. I didn't sleep that night. I thought about why I'd dropped out. December 2018, junior year finals week. Mom called. Pancreatic cancer, stage 3. I flew home. Dad couldn't handle it. He stayed at work until 9 p.m. every night. Thomas was at MIT, 3,000 miles away, sending care packages but never visiting. I took a leave of absence. "I'll be back in fall." I never went back. 15 months of driving Mum to chemo, holding her hair when she threw up, fighting with insurance companies, watching my brilliant mother become smaller. At night, after she was asleep, I coded. I built a model that predicted cancer treatment responses with 89% accuracy. It didn't save her, but it taught me I could build something that worked. Mum died August 2020. At the funeral, I overheard Dad say to Thomas, "Now you can focus on your career." Sophie made her choice. I got a night shift tech support job, $42,000 a year. Between tickets, I pivoted the model to predict startup success. By 2022, I had 94.3% accuracy. I posted code to GitHub as S. Miller, Mum's maiden name. Built reputation on Stack Overflow. In May 2022, Thomas visited. "Can I use your laptop? Mine's dead." I said sure and ran to the store. He cloned my entire repository. In November, I saw the TechCrunch article. MIT grad builds AI to predict unicorns. The algorithm was mine. Every piece. I confronted Thomas. He said I was paranoid. I told Dad. He said, "Don't be ridiculous. You work tech support. Thomas has a master's from MIT. Who's going to believe you?" I stopped going to family dinners. What I didn't know. Julia's team had been investigating Thomas for 18 months. Kyle Rhodes, her tech analyst, found commit timestamps, all between 11 p.m. and 6 a.m., while Thomas was billing 60-hour weeks at McKinsey. He found my Stack Overflow account, an IP address from the family home, and a 98.7% code match between S. Miller's work and VenturePulse's algorithm. Now, in Julia's office, she slid a folder across the table. We know Thomas didn't write this algorithm. What we don't know is your story. Why the pseudonym? Why the silence? I couldn't speak. Kyle asked me to explain the architecture. I did, automatically, in detail. Thomas couldn't have. Julia said, I want to offer you a choice. You can sue your brother. Messy, expensive, years. Or you let me handle him. I pull the Series A, and I offer you a position leading AI development at Apex. $280,000 salary, equity, a team. You build the next version under your own name. Why would you do that? Because I've spent 30 years watching men take credit for women's work. I'm tired of funding it. I took the folder home, 300 pages of evidence. That night, Thomas called, panicked. What did you tell Julia? Then, it was just sitting there. You weren't doing anything with it. I was doing everything with it, I said, under my own name. He offered me 15% equity to stay quiet. I hung up. Text from Dad. Call me now. I turned off my phone. He showed up at my apartment at 7 a.m., still in his running gear, face red. You will not destroy your brother, I said. He stole my work. I have evidence. Sign the NDA or you're not my daughter anymore. I stopped being your daughter the day Mum died, and you made me invisible. He slammed the door. At the emergency investor meeting the next day, 8 top VCs sat around the table. Thomas froze when I walked in. Kyle presented the evidence. Code comparison, impossible timestamps, the memory leak in line 247. Mr. Walker, fix it. Thomas typed a try-catch block. The code crashed. I took the keyboard, wrote 4 lines, green check marks. Runtime improved 23%. Then I explained the architecture, modified LSTM 3-to-1 weighting towards early-stage signals. Thomas couldn't say a word. One by one, the investors withdrew. My father burst in. My daughter is mentally unwell. She's always been jealous. I stood up. I dropped out to take care of Mum. I drove her to chemo 43 times. I held her hair. I coded the algorithm next to her hospice bed. You never asked if I was okay. You just decided I was a failure and Thomas was a genius. You called me the cautionary tale in front of 200 people. You used Mum's death as the punchline. David opened his mouth, closed it. No words came. Thomas cried silently. I walked out. The story went viral. TechCrunch, Hacker News, trending on Twitter. Thomas's startup died. He moved back in with Dad. 2 boards asked my father to step down. I accepted Julia's offer. I moved to Seattle, built a team of 6, launched Miller Algorithm 2.0 under my own name. Open source, free for impact-driven startups. Wired featured it, the algorithm that finds overlooked genius. Thomas emailed an apology. I took your code. I knew it was yours. I'm sorry. I filed it in a folder called Maybe Someday. My father hasn't spoken to me. I don't hate them. I'm just done. Every morning I walk into my office, see my name on the door, and remember my father called me a cautionary tale. He was right, just not the way he meant. I'm the caution about what happens when you don't see the people right in front of you. When you measure worth by credentials instead of contributions. I am not the girl who dropped out anymore. I am not the sister who stayed quiet. I am Sophie Walker.